Hello, you are most welcome. I'm teacher Ivan from Wunna Educational Services. In today's lesson, we shall be looking at the formula, and the formula involves two things. We have substitution in the formula, where we replace variables with the numerals. We also have change of the subject of the formula. In this particular lesson, we shall be looking at the subject of the formula and how we change the subject of the formula. The subject of the formula is that variable that we choose to be represented by other terms in the formula. And therefore, if we are to change the subject, that means that we are to make another variable be expressed or represented by others. Let's look at the examples. In our example, number one, we are making the variable in the bracket the subject. So our first formula is m equals to n into k squared minus x squared. That means that in this formula, m is the subject because it is expressed in terms of others, or it is represented by other terms of the equation. So we are to make x the subject, which means that x will appear alone on one side of the equation, just like m is. So these are the steps we are to follow in this particular example. We have a bracket that is having difference of two squares, but we have another variable outside the bracket. So in the process of making x the subject, we shall make sure that x appears alone on one side of the equation. So in doing so, our first step will be to take n the other side, since it is outside the bracket. And therefore, since n is multiplying the bracket, what goes with the multiplication is a division. So we shall have m equaling to n into k squared minus x squared. So we divide by n, divide by n. Since n was multiplying the bracket, we divide to take it to the other side, and that gives us m over n equaling to k squared minus x squared. The bracket are no longer useful here, since n has been taken the other side. So another step is now to take k squared the other side, or to remain with x squared alone on one side. So we can take k squared the other side. That is, we shall have m over n minus k squared equals to negative x squared. But our interest is to remain with x alone. So that means that we are left with two things to do. One is to remove the negative, and another step is to remove the square root. So those are the two remaining steps. So how are we removing the negative? We shall remove the negative by simply dividing through by negative 1. That is, we shall divide by negative 1 and also divide the whole of this by negative 1, so that the negative cancels this, and therefore when we this is a positive, when we divide by a negative, it becomes negative. So we shall have negative m over n minus. Now we shall divide still this negative k squared by the negative 1. So a negative time divided by a negative will give us a positive. And therefore, we shall have positive or plus k squared equaling to x squared. So that was our first step of removing the negative away from the x squared. Now, our final step is to remove the square. But we can rearrange this so that the positive comes first, hence having k squared minus m over n. This equaling to x squared. So, in the process of removing the square root, the square, we shall just use a square root. So that the square root cancels with the square, and therefore we remain with the square root of k squared minus m over n equaling to x. So that is how we shall change the subject, or we shall make x the subject. That was in our first example of change of the subject. Let us go to our second example. In this second example, we are having 1 over f equaling to 1 over u plus 1 over v, and therefore we are making v the subject. So these are fractions. Let us first simplify the fractions. That gives us 1 over f equaling to, we shall use the butterfly method of simplifying fractions. That is, I can multiply this and this to get the denominator, that is uv. Then I multiply this and that to get v, plus this and this to get u. Then after that, we can cross multiply. This is giving us 1 over f equaling to v plus u over uv. So we can cross multiply. We want to eliminate the fractions or to avoid the fractions. In cross multiplying, this multiplies with 1, we get uv equaling to f into v plus u. Then, since we want to make v the subject, but v is appearing on either sides, so we first open the brackets. That gives us uv equaling to fv plus fu. Then we collect like a terms. Those terms that are having v are put on one side. So that is uv minus fv gives us fu. And therefore, since we want to make v the subject, we shall take it as a common factor, and therefore it is brought outside the bracket, and in brackets we remain with u minus v equaling to fu. Oh, sorry, this is u minus f. And therefore, since we want v, we shall divide by the bracket. This is divided by u minus f divided by u minus f. Hence, we shall have our v as fu over u minus f. So that is how we shall make v the subject. Otherwise, that has been our first lesson. Please don't forget to hit the bell so that you get notified whenever we have lessons. These lessons are successive, meaning lesson 2 follows lesson 1, and once you miss lesson 1, you may not catch up with lesson 2 or the knowledge you missed in lesson 1. So let us hit the notification bell so that whenever we have a lesson, we are notified and we learn together. Otherwise, see you next time. I'm teacher Ivan from Wunna Educational Services. I hope to see you again. Bye bye.